The emulator I use is LD Player, links also in the description for that. So if you guys are looking for an emulator to play Guardian Tales, that's the one I use. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Kyra here with another Guardian Tales video. And in the last video, we're talking about Erina and just how good she looks on paper, but there was a couple things we didn't know in her kit yet. We have the answers to those questions we had last video. So before we get in this video, I have notes to make here. The first one being a special thank you to the first Patreon subscriber for the channel. Thank you, Melissa. She's right here. She's the first member of the Patreon, which I think is awesome. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the video here. So last video, we talked about Erina. With the information we had last video, she looked like a very good character, but there are still a couple of unanswered questions we had because we didn't have all the information, just how the patches drop. They put the patch notes out, but we have to wait until the actual character comes out live to get a couple of things. So we didn't know her base stats, we didn't know her party buff, and we didn't know her animations, because I think those are going to be really key in fully realizing just how good she's going to be, because on paper before, she's going to be a good character, but we didn't know exactly how good she's going to be. It's like, is she going to be super meta defining, or is there some parts of her kit going to let her down to where even though she's a character that looks really good, doesn't really live up to that hype? I think now that we know this, I think she is going to live up to that hype. I think she is a very good character. So the first thing we didn't know is her base stats, and these are pretty in line with Future Princess. You know, like they're a little bit better. So to give you guys an idea, we got 841 to 850, and then we got almost identical HP, and then a little bit less base defense on Future Princess versus Erina here. So slightly better, I think, on a base defense like that, that when it comes to defense percentages, that's actually going to make a pretty big difference. But in the most part, they're almost identical stat-wise, and they're both going to be sword and shield users. Very similar style, like tanky levels, damage levels from them. But we're going to get into Erina here, where she's going to do probably a little bit more based on her main weapon. Because I was a little worried that based on her weapon, where it's essentially just a 25% damage increase when you get her exclusive weapon, that her base stats are going to be a little lower than the standard to make up for that. But she's right in line with characters of her class, if not better than characters in her class when it comes to her base stats. So that's a really good indicator that she's actually gonna be very good. Then we didn't know her party skill, which is 45% defense party buff for everyone on the team. We didn't know that before. Now that we do, that really confirms that what kind of role she's going to be bringing to the team, even though it was pretty clear that it was either going to be an HP percentage or a defense percentage buff. I think it would have been very disappointing if it was essentially anything other than that. I can't really think of any other party skill I can't really think of any other party buff that would make sense on her besides defense. So I'm glad that they went with that. One thing that I think is interesting that we didn't know is her animations. How her auto attacks work. She leads with her ranged attack. So it's just, if you go to auto, she's going to lead with her ranged attack and then follow up with her sword, which I think is actually really good and is going to really help her from getting kited. She's going to be so tanky, frustrating to deal with because of, well, later we'll get into her special ability. People are going to try to kite her out, and she can actually, she hopefully prevent some of that because of how her auto works. One thing that I think is kind of lackluster on her kit is going to be her weapon skill. Just watching gameplay footage of how it works, it just seems really clunky and slow and hard to hit. Probably if there's anything that's going to be a drawback potentially on her, is it looks like her weapon skill. It's not really that big. So in Coliseum it might not be that good, and in Erina it just seems slow and small, so it's like really hard to hit. And a couple things I don't know about it yet, because this is like brand new information that we got, but I don't know how many hits it's going to take to actually CC someone. But watching people play against her, it's so hard to hit that I'm not seeing full hits. So it could take 3, it could take 2, but people are dodging it, so it's hard to say. And also maybe the people piloting it, maybe it's once they get used to it, they're going to start to land it a little bit better. They're going to realize what angles to actually start using it, and you know, they weren't really using it optimally at the moment, but you know, it could just be a little bit of both. And then I figure we should talk about her exclusive weapon here. This is just a better translation of what I had originally. But this is the weapon skill that I was talking about, which is it drops lightning bolt to target to inflict damage and puts enemies in down state. It just drops a little, like tiny little lightning bolt right there, and it's just not that good. Probably for the best, because if she had a really good weapon skill, she's going to be incredibly oppressive at this point, just based on her kit, how everything going for her. She has a lot of stuff going for her, because I think probably the biggest part of her kit is her passive, where she's gaining defense as she's hitting people, like, or ailment resistance to status effects. So I think what that's going to mean is that if someone tries to put her in injury status or like uses their weapon skills against her to try to CC her, she's going to be resistant towards that. So it's going to take more than the normal amount. So Future Princess can't one shot and put her in a status with one weapon skill ability. It's going to take 2. And then same things for other abilities that normally take 2 might take 3. And that's going to take a lot of playtesting to figure out where she is in each matchups, just how much of a percentage decrease she's getting per tick of damage there, because you factor in a lot of these weapon skills, you can expect to be able to dodge them, and it's not like they're always going to hit. So I think getting an idea of just how many extra weapon skills she's able to eat before getting CC'd is going to be a really big deal, and just how good she's going to be from an arena perspective. But I think it's pretty clear that she's going to be very good in arena, very good in Coliseum, and very good for progression. Like I think she's going to be pretty much good everywhere except raiding, which for most people no one really cares about. I think a lot of people really want to focus on the other parts of the game, because she's going to be a staple character in every single game mode except raiding. At this point, I think she's absolutely going to be a must-pull character for a lot of people. If you've just spent a ton of crystals and you're kind of tapped right now, you just got the new meta, or you just got the previous meta, I don't think that, I wouldn't feel too bad if you're not really a spender. If you're you just went all in on the previous meta, you got to focus on that. You can't really think about what potentially could happen. And even though I think she's going to be a really good character, I wouldn't be too discouraged, because you're going to be able to keep the same level of, you're still going to be able to do all the content just like you were before. Maybe Coliseum and Arena get a little harder for you, but it's really not that big of a deal in my opinion. You're going to still be making the same amount of gems. You're going to get the same amount of progression in Camo Zone. It's just this character is going to help with people that are in a position to actually be able to get her. I think she's definitely worth going for. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this new character now that we really got the full picture of just how good she is. I think she's amazing. I think she's going to be a very good character going forward, going to really help people out. I'm going to make a lot of content in Camo Zone significantly easier, especially having that extra tank character that fills another element. I think that's going to bring a lot to the table. I think it's going to really help in Orbital Lift and those harder missions there. So she's going to be a really strong progression character for you guys that really shore up that missing slot in your roster. That's going to do it for me in this video today, guys. And with that, guys, I am out. Peace.